This is a little video of I attended the No Kings protest. Okay, so it wasn't it was fun, and I did a little video on it on that day, and that's up on my YouTube site. So if you want to take a look at the what I had to say on that day, that's okay. I felt good about doing it. I actually got very emotional. I was so surprised. I thought I was going to interview some people, but I was so emotional. I was choked up. I couldn't do it, and I'm expressing how I feel. It gave me an outlet. It was very cathartic, and I expressed how I feel. And I put it up there on YouTube, and a lot of people were like over 50 years old. We had Mima and Papa there protesting. You could see how big it was, all lined up down the street. At that particular corner, there had been a previous protest, and there was maybe 200-300 people at this previous protest. But on that day, there was like thousands. So there is some unrest in this country, and like I said, Mima and Papa. See, look at the people in the background. They're all older Americans, and these are the people who may be protesting him who shall not be named. And is he going to send out the Marines against Mima and Papa? you know, well, we will see. And it was peaceful. We weren't even getting out. Nobody was even getting out into the streets or impeding traffic. And I guess I have some people who are really mad at me about attending this protest. But at my age, you got to do what you feel is the right thing to do. And like I said, I posted it up on my YouTube channel, and I got some very, we'll say, disturbing comments from MAGA. The stuff that they say. Well, what am I going to do? I must have hit a nerve, or they wouldn't be so upset. You can go out there and take a look at it on JohnsTarot on YouTube. That's just how I felt. And in my description of my feelings, I in no way disparaged anybody or put anybody down. I just expressed my experience and my feelings, and they cannot tolerate that for some reason. And I think that's the things I was going to do my tarot readings on today. Let me move over to my tarot cam. My ability to read tarot is a gift, an expression of divine love, and I'm here to share it with you in that same spirit. So my first question will be, did the No King's Day parade, will that have any effect, or what effect will that have? I'm going to go ahead and shuffle the deck. The No King's Day, the No King's Day protest, what effect will that have? And we're just going to do 3 cards. The No King's Day protest, what effect will that have? That first card is the Ace of Swords. That's a good card. The second card is the Tower. Uh-oh. And then the third card is I call it the Apprentice. And that is sometimes my card for Trump. He's the Apprentice. Remember he had that he had that television show, The Apprentice? Let's throw some runes on this. And it's quite obvious what the cards are saying. You don't need a psychic for this one. Odin, free up, guide this reading. For the Ace of Swords, the Tower, and the 8 of Pentacles. What effect will the protest, No King's Day protest, have? Because, like I said, I felt good about it. It was cathartic for me. But will it have any kind of effect? Iwaz is my first rune. There we go. Like that. Suitable. It has to do with delay. And then the Tower. And that one is called Canal. Has to do with shining light. Shining light on an issue. And then the third, and then the third rune is Ophelia. So it's kind of easy to interpret that one. The Ace of Swords has to do with truth, legal victories, you see the crown with the wreaths on it and the sword. That always has to do with truth and winning. So the truth is going to have that people are expressing the truth and the truth of how they feel. And it was a victory for many people. And right now we are in a period of waiting. The rune is Iwaz, and that has to do with delay, transformations, wait, wait on the will of the higher power. And so everybody got out there and expressed themselves, and now we're in a period of waiting. And then and I'm asking about the effect that will have. And now we got the tower and the Eight of Pentacles. The tower has to do with collapse. All methods of government, not methods of government, it's not what I want to say, but your, maybe that is what I want to say, but that's not what I want to express. Old methods of doing things are not going to work anymore. They are collapsing. And in regards to this, the support for he who shall not be named is starting to collapse. Now, you like it when I use that term, he who shall not be named. Support for he who shall not be named is starting to collapse. And then the rune Kanaz has to do with shining the light on some of the problems that are going on with this administration. And then, what is going to collapse? Who is going to collapse? Of course, it's the apprentice, the Eight of Pentacles. And that is always my card for he who shall not be named. Support for him is starting to collapse. Certain things that the rune the rune is Orthelia. Certain things are going to have to be stripped away so that we can come into inheritance. The inheritance is a democratic republic. I'm not happy with the way things are going there, but that is our inheritance. That's the inheritance we want to pass on to the next generations. It hasn't been a perfect situation. We've had our problems, but an autocratic form of government, and I'm not going to use all the harsh words, is not what we want to pass on to our progeny. We want to pass on something that's workable, that they can sort out their differences, and hopefully we can sort out ours. So, what's going to happen? The effect. They shine the light of truth on the situation. There's a bit of a pause right now, as we wait on the will of the higher power. But we can expect some collapse with the apprentice as we shine the light on what's going on and then we try to provide a positive inheritance for those in the future generations. That's what we really want to do. So let me do another question. Let me gather the cards. And if you have gather the cards. If you have certain questions that you would like to submit your questions. If you have certain topics that you would like to talk about, submit your topic. Send me a note over to john@johnstarot.net, and we'll go ahead and do that. This question has to do more about me, or more about you too. If you are in a position where you are, like I posted my feelings about the No King's Day protest, and I got some real negative feedback from MAGAs. And really their stuff is quite vulgar and juvenile, and it's they're trying to hurt me. I'm an older man. I am a disabled veteran. I'm a married disabled veteran, and these are the guys that are going to want a dog pile, right? I'm really impressed by you guys. So, what is the proper way to react to MAGA name calling? Now, if you have ever gone on to a an online forum and express your feelings. You may have experienced this. They always do this. They'll dogpile you, and they'll do name calling. And I'm like, is this supposed to make me want to join their movement? Is this supposed to stifle my stifle my free speech? What is their goal? I wonder. It's really kind of confusing to me. I think this has to do with their fear. It has to do with their fear, especially when you hit a nerve. So they have to respond in some way. So, but what I want to know is, what is the proper response to MAGA name calling, whether it be online or in person? And let's go ahead and shuffle the cards. What is the proper response to MAGA name calling? What is the proper response to MAGA name calling? And our first card is the Three of Wands. My second card is the Six of Cups. And my third card is, there's my answer, the Five of Swords. And I'll throw some runes on it. Where my runes go? For the Three of Wands, Six of Cups, and the Five of Swords. What is the proper response to MAGA name calling? And this rune comes up, and this one is Iwas. Has to do with a delay. My second rune for the Six of Cups. Oh, Bayu. And that one has to do with movable wealth. And then the third rune for the Five of Swords. I know exactly what that one is saying. And again, Canal. Canal. There we go. So it's suggesting patience. The tarot is suggesting patience and waiting. Certain things have been put in order. Certain decisions have been made that have been put into movement, and we're waiting for the response for these things that we have. The world is full of cause and effect. So we made a cause. There's going to be an effect. We're waiting for that effect. We're standing there waiting, and then the rune of Canals, waiting on the will of the higher power. During this period of waiting, is not a time to do nothing. It's a time to think out your strategy, think out your plan, think out the possible effects of the movements that you set in order. The Six of Cups has to do with childhood, childhood friends, childhood memories, childlike responses. And as I said, they were kind of somewhat infantile, somewhat juvenile in their responses. And the rune has to do with Feiyu, has to do with movable wealth. And I think I have to think about that one as it relates to this. Movable wealth, I think that is, long as is what you hold inside of you. And you take with you no matter where you go. It's not about coins. It's not about financial wealth. And it's about inside of you, your sense of purpose, your sense of what's right, your sense of what's wrong. And that is your wealth, your integrity. As a nurse, I know that the most important thing I have in my life is my integrity. So that when I say something is happening and I report something that's happened, that's what's happened. But your integrity is the most important thing that you have to take with you to move forward. And then the Five of Swords. You see a man there with a green tunic and the swords on his shoulder. People in the background walking away, and this has to do with we may not be happy with the way people in our environment are behaving themselves. And we may not be in agreement with them. But we need to have a thick skin. We have the green tunic. You have to have a thick skin and hold your swords of truth close to you. And it's time, but it's also saying, don't needlessly engage these people. Because you're not going to win. They're not going to come around. They are fully entrenched in their way of thinking. Don't needlessly engage them. And maybe I need to consider that. Wasn't my intention to needlessly engage them. As canals, as we shine the light of truth on the situation, it's going to start to change and get better. Well, I've run this quite long enough. I'm going to head and sign off for this week.
Goodbye, Professor Marvel, and thanks a lot.
It's my pleasure. Go ahead and contact me for anything that you have going on that's on your mind. I will be on Tuesdays when I do a podcast-only version, and it's on all the popular podcast sites. It's also on my website at JohnsTarot.net if you like that. So until next week, be careful, be cool, and be kind. And I'll see you all again next week. All right. Oh, yes. Have courage. Find faith. All right. Be the best you can be. I'll talk to you all next week.